Okay. Okay. So our next speaker is FOLAKEMI ODESOLA. Okay. Now, FOLAKEMI is a vision clarity expert who is passionate about helping dreamers and go-getters clarify, execute, and actualize their visions in all areas of life. Okay. Folakemi is the founder of the Vision Board Africa, a community advocating for vision boards for Africans by birth, by blood, and by bond. And she hosts monthly clarity hangouts for visionaries. Okay. Now, one interesting thing about Folakemi is that she started writing down her own visions about 15, 16 years ago. And this started her on a journey of self discovery, a journey which led to her discovering and exploring her multiple passions productively. She believes that everybody needs a vision board because a vision board is a tool that helps people design the lives they desire. She also believes that vision execution and actualization is everything, right? Now, Falakemi is multi passionate. She is an architect, an interior designer, a content creator, and a vision clarity expert. Okay, so um, she will be speaking to us on the topic visualizing a creative future for your child. Okay, so it's not just about getting a creative child, about exploring creativity and all that. What are your plans for the future of that child? Okay, you need to start designing the future of that child by visualizing it. So Folakem is going to be talking to us about that. Okay, so please let's welcome Folakem. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Hello,
Can I?
Folakem.
Hi, Dotto. It's good to be here with you.
Good to be here with you too.
All right. So can I go on?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So hello everybody. Thank you so much, Dotto Omotosho, for having me here, for giving me this platform to come talk to parents. I'm extremely passionate about this because I was that creative child and I have my own stories to tell. And I'm just going to quickly tell you about myself. I am an architect. Doctor has introduced me already. I am an interior designer. I'm also a vision clarity expert. I'm a creative coach as well. I do creative coaching for adults, and it's funny how creative coaching, for adults is very similar for creative coaching for children, because there are a lot of adults who are just discovering themselves as well. So sometimes we feel like, oh, these children are not, but there are a lot of adults who are actually in that place. So if you're an adult and you're listening for your child, you may also be able to grab something. I'm sure you grabbed from Dotton's session and from Ekomobong's session. So we're just going to go on. I'm multi-passionate, I must mention. I'm an entrepreneur, and that's how I juggle everything that I do. The things that I love, that I'm passionate about, they actually span across industries, building and construction, this design, the media industry, entrepreneurship, empowerment for people. So across these industries, all my skills and my passions, they just span out. And I think it's important that I mention this because and because of that question, there are some parents who have those kind of children who are seeming divergent, but it's not a problem at all. Things would work out, at the end of the day, like Echo also talked about. Today, I'm talking to you about visualizing a creative future for your child. And I'm going to start with, what it means to visualize a creative future for your child. This means visualization, that word just means making use of the imagination to dream dreams, and see visions. And this is where it gets interesting, because a lot of parents think that they should dream and envision for their children. However, my twist to this today is that as parents, our work is to inspire our children to dream and envision for themselves. I'm a parent. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. They're both turning 9 and 6 in the month of June. So it's been an interesting journey, being a parent to creatives. I think almost every child is creative, really. my son, I was saying recently, my son draws in the air and he writes, and all that. I remember one time grandma said, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "No, let's not go down this lane," because I have my own, fair share. I have my stories. I was almost bitter, at some point. I was almost bitter. So let me just tell you my story. As a child, I could draw. I talked about it on Instagram, a few hours ago, that my son, when he was 3, I looked at him and I saw how he was drawing and sketching and all of that, and tears literally rolled down my eyes. And it was because I didn't, I didn't explain so much on my Instagram post, but it was because I felt that it was possible that this was the age that I started to express myself. It was possible that this was how I was. That's how early I started to express myself. It just wasn't something that was taken as seriously. Of course, my parents, had their own thing, and every child, they had other children. Every child is creative in their own way. I was more drawing, artistic crafts, and things like that. I had a sister, one of my sisters. I had 2 sisters. My sister was also creative in the aspect of talking, writing, more like presenting and things like that. I was more the writing type. I was an introverted child. I was writing, always sitting in one place, writing and writing poetry and all of that. My grandma was a very, very big influence in my life. She was also a very creative person. And I think that she was the coach that I had. She was that early coach that I had. I learned to cook, at the age of 7, 8. She taught me how to plait hair, taught me how to knit. She, she would take me around the compound and teach me which mushrooms are edible and which ones were not. She taught me so many amazing things. My mom at the time was really busy. She was a nurse, a young nurse, and she was growing in the profession. So she would have to go on night duty, and my dad was a military officer. He was barely around sometimes, but my grandma really helped, to discover that creative, part in my life. I remember her teaching me how to write on a line, and she taught me a particular sentence, and she said, the crazy brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. And she told me that particular sentence had all the alphabets in it. And you can try it. If you write it down, you find that it does. So she taught me a lot of things. My grandma was educated, so that helped. She passed away in February of 2016, and it was painful for me because I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was hoping that, my kids would get to really know her, and that maybe she'll be able to pass on some of those things to her. She probably would have been too old to do any of that, but it was just, she was a big influence in my life. And as for my parents, it's not like they didn't want to do this thing, but I feel like, I would judge them, as the child. I feel like the time that they had, I don't think that they really, thought of maximizing that time. I remember my dad's boss came to the house, his boss was way older, way senior to my dad in military. He came to the house and he saw me drawing. He was stunned. He asked the question, "What exactly do you want? What do you think will make this thing better for you?" I had these Argos magazines I used to keep, and it was almost like I was always waiting for someone to ask me what I wanted. So I grabbed it and I took it to him, showed him this page where they had all the crayons and everything like that. And he looked at it and smiled, and he gave me the money to buy what I wanted in foreign currency. He actually gave me that money in dollars, And you know what happens to when they give you money? So my parents, that money just disappeared. I don't do it right now for my kids. I actually keep it and I invest it for them. But I'm sure a lot of us would have experienced things like that. My parents, God bless them, they did the best that they can. But that's why we're here, to learn better how to, treat children. When I was in GSS3 at some point, I wanted to play. I was very interested in music and I was in music club. I wanted to play the clarinet. My dad had promised me that if I did well in school, he was going to buy the clarinet for me. I played it from GSS1 to GSS3, and going into SS1 to become a senior, I wanted to play the clarinet. It was like the bigger elder brother, like the grandpa to the flute. And my dad promised me and I passed, and my dad did not buy this clarinet. So I have stories of dashed expectations, and all of that. So, and I'm sharing this because I don't want us as parents to do this for our children. It's not everybody that is going to survive. I fought to be here where I am. I've always had this very strong personality. My parents wanted me to be a doctor. So they must have seen me drawing like that at the age of 3, but they wanted me to be a doctor. So I had this, friend, my best friend, she's still my best friend till date. I met her in secondary school as well. She also wanted to be a doctor. So it was good. I had company, So we both went to A-level school after secondary school. And, of course, for medicine, physics, chemistry, biology. And all of a sudden, chemistry started to seem like Greek to me. It was the first time that I ever felt like a fish out of water. And somehow, I'm kind of grateful for that experience. It was the first time I ever felt like I couldn't do something. I was, like when you're multiple, you kind of have skills in so many places, but it was terrible. Like it was a terrible experience. So anyway, I left A-level school to enter into another university. When I was filling the form for that university, my family friend, he was the head of department, in one of the departments in the school. And he told me I was feeling medicine in that form as well, because they had ingrained this in my mind as a child that I was going to do, medicine. But this man told me they might not give you medicine because you're not an indigene. It was a school in the East. So he said, you know what, pick something else that you feel that is very close to, what you would like to do. You need to. So it was the first time that I ever thought about it and said, let me think about it. Like, what exactly do I like to do? I loved artistic things. I loved history. I loved, languages, writing, poetry, crafting, jewelry, colors, everything that had to do with things like that. Everything. And I was that kind of person who could never pick one thing. Like I wanted to take all the subjects, and everything like that. So my multi-passionate thing was already alive right from when I was younger. And maybe that was what confused my parents now thinking about it. I guess they couldn't understand. So they just gave me a direction and I was going towards that direction. But I when I was filling that form, I thought about it and said, okay, what would a science student, because of what my uncle, said, I said, okay, what would a science student do? Like, how could a science student combine, art and, and sciences? So because I was doing well in sciences in my in my junior secondary school, they just pushed me towards, and then the art class, they had this, there was this thing about art class, that people thought in those days, so they just, I know going to, but it's funny how even as a science student, I dropped technical drawing in GSS, in SS1. I never intended to read, architecture or anything like that. But, at that point when my uncle, posed that question to me, I thought about it and said, how do I fuse my science background with my creative flair? And architecture was the answer that I came up with. I'm sure if there was any other creative professional course in Nigeria, I would have gone for that, but architecture was the option that I had at the time, and I don't regret reading it. I really love design, and all of that. But you see, my parents were pushing me towards medicine because my mom is a nurse. My dad got into the military to fly, but he said that if he didn't go to the military, he would have read pharmacy, in Ife or so. And so that's why they both loved the medical direction and were pushing me towards that, direction. But it didn't work out that way. And I'm happy that I was able to find my way, with that that voice in my life at that point. And that was the only role this man played in my life. And I don't think he knows that this is what he did. And now that I'm talking about it, I think I'm actually going to write him a letter to say thank you, for giving me that direction, and let him know that he was the one that gave me that direction that, really helped me to make that choice. So I got into read architecture in a particular school, and then I transferred to another school where I later met Dotun and Komobong, and I read architecture, there and finished. But I didn't know, at the time, my future was kind of, I always had like these things in my mind. I always visualized a lot of things. I always saw so many things. I was that child that always, I was very optimistic, and I was always thinking of, you have to do this because maybe this is how the future is going to be. It was always, I think I was one person that always had those senses right from when I was younger. My best channel right now is food channel. I don't necessarily eat the food, but I love the creativity and the colors and everything, in there. I could have been encouraged to go down a direction that wasn't good for me because people didn't think much of the things that I was doing. But I want to let you know, if you're listening, that your child is already showing signs. If you observe clearly, you will see those signs, and you can help this child discover themselves. And, I'm just going to quickly go through some other important things. I'm going to get to that visualization, but I want you to understand these things. There are some things that actually affect, helping your child, your temperament, your temperament. you would have, like, I mean, the kind of person that you are, would help, would either help or mar your child's creativity. So let me just state that visualizing a creative future for your child, in doing that, you have a responsibility to let them do their own dreaming and do their own envisioning while you act as a guardian. That is really your role as a parent. And there are some things that allow you or hinder you from acting out this role, very well. There are gifts, skills, and talents that your child is naturally attracted to, or your children, things that they are passionate about, that God embedded in them, that will start to yearn and start to scream for expression. When these things happen, what kind of environment, what kind of world, the world that you have created for them around them right now, what kind of environment, what would the world meet them with? Will the world embrace them, or will it be cold and will it be harsh towards them? And this is where I want to just talk to you more about your role as a parent. You need to observe your child. You need to acknowledge whatever it is that you're seeing in this child, and you need to respect the gift that is in your child. You need to make a decision. It's a decision, to be supportive. And ideas on how to support your child will come once you make that decision. You may be the help that they need, or you may need to get the help that they need. For them, people like Dotun, who are, this is their line, this is where Dotun is passionate, or any other creative adult that they have around them, that would help this child, help your child build capacity as well in the areas of their passion, not just in the areas of their natural, skills. They could have skills, and all of that, but are they really passionate about these things? So because they have to also accept it, it has to be authentic to them. It's not just about what somebody says, oh, you can do so well. It has to be something that actually, flows from the core of this child. Allow them to make their own decisions themselves. Guide them. Your personality, your temperament, and all of that will come into play here because you're a human being. And I need to ask you, are you an intimidating parent? Are you a very intimidating person, naturally? Are you the kind of person who wants to live out your dreams through your child? Are you a perfectionist? If you're melancholy, you're a perfectionist. Are you that kind of person who has had dashed expectations as well in the past that would help you to limit your child? Are you so sold out to culture that you will not allow your child, you will tell them some things are for girls and some things are for boys? Are you going to be mentally and emotionally ready to support your child? These are conversations that you need to have. Are you going to be able to instruct and help this child, even in this area of passion? There are so many things for them to learn in their areas of passion. So they don't even need to keep running all around and all of that. Once you figure out that this is the direction a child is going towards, you could start putting things, around them that just helps them believe these things are possible. Be that kind of, you can be a coach to your child, be the emotional and mental coach, even though you cannot be that physical one. There are people there like Dotun, like I said, but you should always create that environment where you never let them think that anything is impossible. Okay? In all of this, there's a place, to instruct your child and to help them, to go towards where they are going. Now, I'm going to talk about helping them dream, visualization, right? Helping them dream, helping them to execute, these dreams. There's a process that I talk about, I call it see, capture, recreate. I talk to adults about these things. This is the kids version now that I'm going to be talking about. A vision board is a tool, that's very important. You can use a vision board to help a child to discover themselves. It's an amazing tool. I rediscovered myself, I wrote my dreams like really early on. I was a teenager, I think, when I wrote. So that's not really early on when we're talking about your own children. My kids have written theirs now, and like I said, my daughter is going to be 9. She built her first vision board when she was 5. She's the kind of person that loves to, she's creative in her own way. She's more like expressive art, she likes to talk, she likes to present, and all of that. When my daughter was 5, things that I saw her do, I was learning how to do it as an adult. Okay, so because I was always very shy and very, timid, and it was because of the kind of environment I grew up in. I grew up with extroverts all around. So it wasn't something like nobody really had the time, to kind of stop and look at what I was doing, and all of that. But I'm happy that I'm able to be there for my kids, differently. So all I do is I put the right materials around them that helps them shape their minds and helps them to accept, who they are, who that I know that they are, because I'm watching and I'm looking and I'm thinking about, how I grew up, So let me talk about this visualization thing. Now I talk about vision board as a tool, but then let me talk about the steps, okay? And before you get to the whole vision board thing, how do you put this vision, on that board? Allow them, help them to see their dream. when you have conversations with them, and you help give them context, and you listen to them, you give them books, that they can read. It builds their imagination. You allow them listen to music, you give them books, and let them see other people who have achieved what you think that they are trying to. It might take them a while to be able to articulate it as children, but you can help them do it, okay? Encourage them to capture it by articulating. Like I said, the more you talk to them and converse with them, the more they converse. Don't even act as if you know what they're about to say. We're wiser than kids, and before they even finish a statement, sometimes we know what they're about to say. But don't even let them think that you know what they're about to say. Just allow them to talk. I have one-on-one sessions with my daughter from time to time. We call it Mommy and Moyo time. We just do it all the time. My son is 5. I started these sessions with my daughter when she was 5. My son is 5 right now. He's not ready to have all those conversations. He gets like, kids are different. He just wants to just be drawing in the air and doing his thing. But my daughter is that kind of person so she's kind of sensitive, and she's looking for someone to talk to her. And I engage her. Okay, so you've helped them to see it, you've helped them to capture it, in writing and all that, help them recreate it. And this is where the vision board comes in. Allow them, get magazines and all of that for them, let them see it, even when they are watching TV, the kind of things that they gravitate towards, allow them to cut these things, put them on a board, let them just keep seeing it. It just helps them create a world, and don't be bothered about, what if this thing changes? There's nothing that starts, somehow. It would always evolve into something else, but it's not misleading in any way. It's actually going towards a particular place. Now, in helping your child, you've helped them visualize this thing now, okay? Validation is very important, okay? Apart from it, aside saying, oh, your dreams are valid, you can also help them to also logically think about this. Oh, what do you have that can help you do this, achieve this? Do you have the resources you need? If they don't have the resources, how can you help them create this? How can you help them understand, better about their passions? How can you help them define things? How can you put them in a creative environment? How can you enroll them, or sign them up for like a reading club or for like a music class or something like that just helps them become better, helps them build skills. Because there are ways of determining the success that one can have, on something. So these are the things. My daughter, I sit with her and I ask her things. I wanted to build like a family culture for us, and I asked her, I said, oh, Moyo, what would you like us to do? And she started to propose things. She said, oh, Mommy, I think we should have family movie day, and we do that every Sunday. Oh, Mommy, I think sometimes we can go out. It gives her that confidence, and helps her feel like her voice is heard. It builds, this thing up in them. Their ideas are valid. It helps her. She's positive, and she can never come home and say, Mommy, somebody said I can't do this. I'm like, who said that? And how does the person know you can't? I'm like, okay, Moyo, do you have anything that says that you can? And she starts to read it out for me, to help her build that confidence. It's very important. A child needs to build confidence from the house. Okay. And I know that I have said a lot. I'm going to leave you to the other things that I would say will probably be drawn out, through the questions you asked. So I'm just going to leave you to ask those questions. But I'm just going to wrap up, by saying, if you have multi-passionate children, you need to speak to people who are multi-passionate. And you need to identify people who you've seen, can do something. You have a child who it's okay for them to pivot every now and then. Oh, I feel like I want to do this. I feel like I want to do that. It's okay. They're not confused. Don't use those words and those languages on them. In helping your child, you have to be this person who is also, on that journey of personal development and growth. When you grow mentally, emotionally, and physically, you can better help your child or help your children achieve the dreams and purpose that God has embedded in them. Okay, and I'm going to just, creating, or should I say, visualizing a creative future for your child. Your role is to actually allow them dream their dreams and envision their visions and be the guardian. Be their guardian, be that person that guides them. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you. I'm just going to, Dotun, over to you, and any other person that wants to ask any question. Is there anybody who wants to ask a question? I'm available to answer now.
Wow. Thank you so much. In fact, I'm also busy taking notes. Like, it's as if I'm here to learn too. Like, I've been writing, I've been busy writing. Like, they're just eating fire. So thank you very much. So yes, we have a bit of time for. In fact, we have quite some time for questions, you know. So let's give a bit of time for those on Facebook or those on YouTube to ask questions, right? Okay. So um, while we are waiting, okay, I have a question of my own. I'm still taking my question. I'm still writing down my questions, but let me start asking. You know. Okay, so you talked about being multi-passionate, you know, and all that. So for parents of multi-passionate children, you know, what steps do you think they can take to help their children?
I think that, like I said, I don't know if maybe the multi-passion was one of the things that actually, maybe confused my parents. So it can actually be confusing. We have a child that is multi-passionate. I feel like my daughter is multi-passionate. My son actually seems like he's just going to be going, towards a particular direction, but my daughter seems to have like many skills. So she's not just, just one thing, like, she's so many. And so sometimes you can't really say, oh, she's the best at this and she's the best at that, because there are so many things that she can do. If you're a parent to a multi-passionate child, one thing that I would say is, patience. You need to be very patient. Sometimes your children, they will lead you. They will lead you. My daughter has been saying she wants to be a singer and a dancer since she was 3. And I've been like, this girl, why can't we just do something, why can't we just, and all of that. And she's tending towards, she likes hip hop and all those things. I'm like, you have to be dancing Jesus dance here. Like, it's not like hip hop is bad or anything. Like, I have my own expectations as well as a parent, and all of that. Definitely, she's going to, education is very important. It'll be important for her, but while she's doing the education, she'll be balancing out. So if you're a multi-passionate parent, first and foremost, be very, very patient. Look at this child. You can even get it. All these things I talk about, everything I say, I write down every single thing. If you're going to take me and put me on an island and you will not give me anything, just leave me with my thoughts, a pen and a book. And when you come and pick me up, if you ever come for me, I would have written like an epistle. But, get a paper, actually just start to note, what are these things you're seeing this child doing? They might just actually need you to just create context for them. Okay. Don't be quick to judge them and say, oh, you are confused, anything like that. What are the many things that they love to do? Celebrate them for those things that they love to. Okay, you can ask questions occasionally. Okay, which one don't say, what do you want to do, when you grow up? Which one would you like to start with? Which one would you like? Because a multi-passionate child, don't get him. Don't worry. This child doesn't want to do one thing. This child is not interested in doing one thing. This is something I just want. And if you are somebody who is like single-minded, and all that, I want you to understand that a multi-passionate child is not without focus. The focus for a multi-passionate is very different from focus for somebody who is single-eyed. Okay, for a multi-passionate person is divergent, but you see the way arrows go, when they are divergent, you can see that they are still arrows. They are still there's focus. You understand? And your child is where all these things converge. You might think that, oh, this child is just doing this, that, and all of that. Your child is where all these things converge. This child might take skills from here and take skills from there and take skills from here and even end up doing one thing where they are displaying like multiple skills. Okay, so I would say just encourage the child. The child talks about music or is interested in music, or let them watch, Sound of Music or a musical movie or something like that. Just encourage them and always put all these things around them. They are in that phase, recognize and understand that they are in that phase where they are also searching for themselves. So they don't need somebody saying, they don't even know they are searching for themselves yet. Okay, but you as a parent, because you've gone ahead of them and you know how the world can be. If you're a multi-passionate person that never got to pursue everything, there's still time for you, but it also gives you that opportunity to help your child. Whatever it is that you went through, you help your child not to go through that same kind of thing. The most important thing you can do is be supportive and always, engage this child. I'm such an advocate for engaging children in conversation. Keep on asking this child, what are the things that you want to do? Don't say, what do you want to be when you grow up? No, what are the things that you want to do when you give the child, sound as if there are options. Okay, sound as if there are options. Don't box the child and put the child in a container. Okay, don't put the child in a container. There are so many people that got to do like so many things, that got to read something and they converted it into something else, and all of that. Of course, evidenced by even a common bond and even Jotun as well, and myself and a lot of other people you would meet in the course of this conference. So I'll just wrap up, by saying, be supportive. Okay, and the questions you ask: what are the things you would like to do when you grow older? What are the things you would like to do? Which one would you like to start with first? Don't say, What do you want to be when you grow up? You know, and as in you kind of box the child with that kind of question. So the kind of conversations you have with that child, they are embedded in the child's subconscious. And these are the things that the child gets to live out. If the child grows up in an environment where the child understands that it can speak or she can speak, and I have options, you know, I wasn't caged, I had options. The child kind of comes out with a more positive, the child is going to need a very positive mentality. The road ahead is tough. The road ahead for multi-passionate is tough. So the best you can do is to build a very positive environment so that the child believes that, oh, I can, there's nothing that says I can't do multiple things. All the child needs to figure out later on is how to manage themselves. It's not a problem to be multi-passionate, it's managing multi-passions that is the real deal. So it's not a problem. Allow them explore. What are the things you would like to do? Which one would you like to start with? Those two questions, very important.
Okay, thank you so much. The second to the last line you said, you know, that which one would you like to start with? Now, I want to one thing that parents of multi-passionate should know. I'm also a multi-passionate person. Okay, and this is just all this is just one side, one aspect of you know, for like as this is just one aspect, as in you know, but one important thing that I always one thing I always advise parents to do, right, especially with multi-passionate children, is that take it one at a time. Yeah, all right. Now, if you say okay, you want to do like 5 things at the same time, it can overwhelm. It can overwhelm an adult. Talk less of a child. Do you understand? So take it one at a time. You know, if they say okay, they want to do music, start small. You know, start small and build on it. Don't just bombard them with you have 5 talents, you have to develop all 5 at the same time. No, the truth is only 1 or 2 that will develop to the maximum, you know. But the other ones, you know, there's something Folake does. She has sessions like clarity sessions for people, and I have been privileged to take one of those sessions. See, Folake is my friend, but I paid money for that session and I got value because I was struggling with, you know, my most passionate abilities, you know, and she showed me a way, you know. So it's something that you can speak to her, you can contact her, and she will show you. She will have sessions with you and teach you what to do and all that. So there are ways that you can go about it as a multi-passionate, as an adult and as a multi-passionate child. You know, but you as a parent, you just have to be intentional. You know, there's so many things that she has said. Like I've taken notes, but you know, you have to be intentional. That's the base of everything we're saying. Okay, so one more thing, one more question, and I think you're going to talk a bit more on this question, right? Now, you know, you are the vision board. Okay, so how can a parent build a vision board for? Okay, your video is off. Okay, the video is off. Okay, so the question is, how can a parent build a vision board for their child?
So the thing is, so for my daughter, well, like I said, I started with my daughter at the age of 5 when she was 5. So this is like almost 4 years on now. I didn't build the vision board for her. I just provided her with the tools and the environment, and I allowed her. So I asked her questions, you know. So yeah, I agree. So that question, yes, I think, you know, there are some questions you can ask to prompt them. You know, things like, so just 5 ways. Let me just, you know, talk about it 5 ways. Like, so your kids have different aspects of life, right? But, you know, now that they are younger, the only aspects that are really popping up are just maybe their academics, you know, and just their life, you know, at home in general. So 5 ways, you know, 5 things you can, you know, who do you want to be, you know, when you grow up? Who do you want to be? What do you want to do, you know, when you grow older? What do you want to do? What do you want to have? What are the things you want to have? Allow them to express themselves. What are the things you would like to create? You know, what are the things you would like to experience? You know, and you just explain to them that in being somebody, so that their vision is all encompassing as well. This is helping your child to actually pull that vision out. Who do you want to be? They would say, I want to be a fireman. So my son actually said fireman one time, and I was wondering, like, what's the fire service in Nigeria like? Like, do we really have, and who knows, maybe he's the one that is going to even, you know, as they make it like really something that's, you know, that's really important and all. So there's that part, you know, where you just, you know, where you ask them, who do you want to be, and allow them to say everything. What do you want to do? Allow them to say everything. What do you know? So at this point in their life, it's not it's more like a dream board. You know, their visions are more like dreams because it's in the formative stages. So there's no need to, have them, box them or anything like that. Allow them to just be free. So ask them, who do you want to be? What are the things that you would like to do? What are the things that you would like to create? What would you like to create? And you'd see their eyes actually light up, and you see them glow. What are the things you would like to experience? What would you like to have? Would you like to have, something? My son is a very big dreamer. My daughter, I think, as she grows older, she's a little bit aware of the fact that, some things are possible, some things, you need to think a little bit deeper and all of that. So I always take time to help her build that possibility mentality. My son is like, he's going to be, he is, his attitude is like a natural dreamer. Like, he doesn't even care whether something is possible or it's not possible. So in helping them build this vision board, it is more about that question and helping them go through that thinking process of who they want to be, what they want to do, what they want to create, or the things that they want to experience in their lives. And when they say it out and all that, all the while you're talking to them and all that, you can either tell them to be the ones writing it down, or you are writing it down for them. When I'm talking to my daughter, she's taking notes, I'm taking notes. It's almost like, I don't understand. That session is really funny. I think maybe I should put like a video and videos, sometime. But she likes to talk and express herself. So when we do those things, like, I just write all those things down. I say, oh, Moyo, you said you wanted to do this and that and that. Why do you want to do it? It's just having that conversation. Then at the end of the day, they already have all these things you've written down. So what kind of pictures would you like to use in interpreting this thing? So really, the vision board is just a place where you interpret the visions that you have been able to articulate. Okay, so it's first of all the writing phase, and then you now get to, it's what you have written down that you're trying to interpret into pictures. So it's the same thing, that you do for your child. But I must stress that at the level, for kids, you're not bothered about, oh, is this thing possible? Isn't it possible? Even for adults, you shouldn't. Even though adults need to now do validation, for children, there's no, just allow them, to think about these things, and let them just, let them be free, and then get the magazines with them, and it's a craft. It can be a craft project, with the children, and I'm sure Dotun would agree. As long as we are using Yoo-hoo glue and we're using scissors and we're using magazines and using all those things, it's a craft party. So just have fun with them and allow them to cut out. I'm telling you, vision board sessions with children is extremely, extremely amazing. It's very therapeutic for you as well as an adult, because those areas for you in your life where you felt that some things were not possible, when you hang out with people with possibility mentality, like children who don't yet have bruised, or dashed expectations or anything, it builds up and stirs up something in you as well. It will bring out, and kind of quicken some of those dreams that are buried, in your own life. So yeah, it's just about having those conversations and then helping them, asking them, how would you like to interpret? I'm not that parent who actually does things for my kids. I let them do it themselves. I'm just a guardian, I just provide the guidance, and I just, ask them the questions and allow them. Okay, so that's what I do. Just those same things that they've written down, they convert those things into pictures. And I say, oh, you said this, that. But because I already, do like vision boards and all, I kind of guide on the kind of pictures, for her to put, because I know like how these things would really, help her to achieve. But honestly, you can just leave them, after having those conversations, you're like, oh, you wanted to be a pilot. Should we look for the picture of a pilot or a plane or something, and we cut and we put it? So just make it a fun and a craft project. It's not the final thing. It's the start of, dreaming for them. So allow them to explore. That's what I would say, Dotun. Over to you, Dotun.
Okay, thank you so much. So there's a question from Facebook, okay, and it says, do you have a kids vision board program?
Yes, I actually do. I actually have a kids vision board program. So because of the corona, we haven't been able to do anything. Last year, we were actually supposed to do, because of the COVID, we weren't able to do. But I think as the world, becomes, more open, we might have a physical one. But in the absence of physical one, I do, all my vision board programs now are online. So you see, but this vision board program is a program where the parents have to attend, with their children. Because just like how we're having this creative child conference, there's the parents that are coming because they are the guardians, to these kids. So even in the kids vision board program, the parents will actually, it's almost like a vision board program, for the parents, on how to help the child. And the child is there, and then all those things can go on. But the parent, there needs to be like a parent or a guardian, who's with this child, who is going to be responsible for helping. It's almost like you're a dream partner to the child, so it's really, really important. So yes, the vision board um, program for kids, yes, I do have. It's exactly the same process that I do with my kids, that I do with the children. I haven't done one this year, but let's see, if we find like so many parents who are interested in it, then we might as well just do one. Maybe Dotun she would launch one for us like this. I would just come and facilitate. She would just be the and all of that. So it would be a great idea, very grateful.
Okay, that's actually a good idea. In fact, I think we should look into it because I mean, this is, I thought this what we are doing is multi-generational. It's not just now. In 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, people will come and say, I started this thing because Mrs. D talked to my mom. I started this thing because I met Mrs. D. Do you understand? So it's multi-generational. So yeah, vision boards are important. I mean, you have to build your vision board. So we should work on the vision board program in the future. Okay. So I have one last question for you. I typed it here. How do you think parents, okay, because I know that this thing about temperaments, right? Some people actually may not know their temperaments and they have no idea how it affects their relationship with their children and all that. So how do you think parents can discover their temperaments?
All right. So I think it's really easy, very easy. Um, when I work with parents, work with adults, sorry, in clarifying, discovering what their visions are, clarifying their visions, their dreams, and all of that. Just tell them to take a simple personality test. The one that I always recommend, and I keep on saying it, that these people need to pay me because I must have mentioned it like a million times. It is www.16personalities.com. I love that personality test because it just seems like you literally think like someone was actually staring at you in your own room, like in a room where it's only you sitting down. You just be like, who is looking at me here? Like it's so, it would be exactly, thank you so much. 16personalities.com. It will really, really resonate with you. It's about 80 to 90% accurate, www.16personalities.com. If you take that test, you would, actually understand, who you are, what you're doing, how these things actually apply to like other people, how you affect other people. Emotional intelligence classes are also great because you learn about your own emotions and you learn how to manage the emotions of other people. So if there's an emotional intelligence course, you can go on Udemy, you will find emotional intelligence courses, especially those that are directed towards family, family life and things like that. Another one would be to take a love language test. So that's 5 love languages, 5 in figures, then lovelanguages.com. The love language test is good for you because it allows you to see how and so apart from you taking that test, if you take the test, so there's a love language test for children, I think on that website. When you go there, you allow your kids take this love language, you kind of understand what their love language is and you know how to approach them. My son and my daughter are very different. I don't approach them the same way. So my daughter, I can be like, it's funny how my daughter is that one who is kind of she's more she's stronger, emotionally. My son is kind of but that's outwardly anyway. Outwardly she seems stronger. On the inside she's really soft. My son on the outside seems like really soft spoken and all of that, but he's more stubborn, like in his mind. Like he's the kind of child that right now, if I say you're not going to draw that thing, or you're not going to do this thing, or you're not going to become, I see how, like me, how I ended up where I am. He will end up where he's going. There is no pushing him left and right. That boy is going to end up where he's going. My daughter is that kind of child where I know that I need to be there for her, to always let her know that she can do whatever it is. So you have to know, if you understand your own temperament as a parent and you care about understanding the temperament of your child as well, you will be able to help them in their own different language. Like all children are different. There's no comparing one child with the other. They have their different gifts. What one can do, the other may not be able to do. And they can even learn from each other. Who knows? They can learn from each other. But take a test. Allow your children, take it. You can take a test for them. You can just, this child, you have to know your child, of course. Okay, these are the things that this child will naturally do. And you do, and it just comes out. you would know, is this the kind of child that loves, hugs? There are some kids that love hugging. That's how they communicate. Is this the kind of child that likes quality time? My daughter likes attention. Like, she likes when I'm just talking to her. And she's been like that since she was a child. The first picture that I took when I went out with my friends and I didn't take Muyo with me, she kept on asking, Mommy, why am I not in this photo? Why am I not in this picture? And I think she was about maybe 3 at some, because I didn't have a help. We're always going everywhere together. And the day she saw her that she was not in one picture, Mommy, why am I not here? So she always enjoyed that quality time with me. And she's that kind of person. My son, he doesn't really care about me, like he's just giving me something as in, and is focused on something else, that kind of thing. So understand yourself, understand your kids, and, emotional intelligence, mental intelligence, as in, help yourself and help them. If you understand yourself better, you would want to understand them. You will manage your own emotions, you will manage their emotions as well. Sometimes, of course, everything cannot be perfect. One day we'll just scream and say, please leave me alone, something like that. But when you do that, be very good at calling this child back and affirming this child and making them know that, no, don't worry, mommy was just, I just had like a moment of, something. There's nothing wrong in apologizing to them, okay? And letting them know that, this is how things are. So take a test, take the 16 personalities of contest, the 5 love languages test. If you're really deep into it, go do like an emotional intelligence course, really short courses on Udemy you will find. Exactly. That's the handle, and you would be able to help them, So the answer really is taking a test, and it's really simple. It's just there. It's available. It's available to everybody.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm done with my questions. I don't think we have any other questions because, in fact, you have broken it down for us. You gave us the stew, so we came with our bread. You need to come and eat it. You have broken it down. So, in fact, I have learned so much. I even need to go take the personality test and the love language test because we need to be testing ourselves regularly. But thank you so much. Your session has been very instructive. Um, and if anybody reaches out, I'm sure that people may want to reach out to me like, okay, we need to connect with her so she can help us and all that. So I will get them your contact details. Okay. So thank you very, very much for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, the Vision Title Queen. Thank you. So I will let you go now. Okay, or you can mute it. You can mute yourself.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you. All right. So thank you very much, everyone, for those of you that have waited this long. Thank you so much. I hope you learned as much as I learned. In fact, it's like me, if I'm learning work. Do you understand? Like I'm also learning work. So this is the end of today's session. So just a few announcements. Tomorrow we continue at 10 a.m. and we have 4 different speakers. So it's going to be as explosive as it was today. We are going to learn a lot more. We have creatives and we have a parenting expert, and then we have a child star. So it's actually a child star. So we have them coming tomorrow. So please um, plan to attend. Plan to be there. 10 a.m. same time, same links, same. We're going to be on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Invite your friends, invite your family members. This work has to be done. Okay, we have to parent properly. Okay, we have to be intentional. In everything that we have said, the bottom line is that be intentional as a parent. You have to be intentional. Building positivity in your home. You have to be intentional. So, um, on that note, I'll be saying goodbye. Okay, we'll end the session. I'm just going to put up a few pictures and all that, but this is the end for today. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate everything. I appreciate everything. Okay. Okay, so okay, Omolayo Babaneji says thank you for like a very insightful session. Thank you, Omolayo. I appreciate you for joining us. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so Have a good evening. God bless you. And remember, little thoughts make it mighty ocean. Start small, dream big, and raise healthy, happy children. Bye.